In 695 AD in Constantinople, a furious crowd fills the main square. Guards drag a man in fancy but now ripped clothes. His face shows sheer terror. This isn't just any criminal, it's Justinian II, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire, the most powerful ruler in the East. The crowd screams insults. They demand blood. Death to the tyrant, justice for our families, castrate the pervert who dishonors the throne. Any moment, something unimaginable will unfold. An emperor will be mutilated alive in front of his own people. The guards force Justinian to kneel. A man with a sharp dagger steps forward. The emperor tries to fight back, but there's no escape. With a brutal slice, the executioner grabs his nose and cuts it off, tearing through flesh and cartilage. Blood sprays as screams of agony fill the square. But the nightmare is only beginning. Next, a hot iron is pressed against his face, sealing the wounds and leaving lasting scars. Finally, part of his tongue is severed, making his words nearly impossible to understand. This isn't just torture, it's a political statement. In the Byzantine Empire, looks were believed to show divine favor. A scarred emperor could no longer rule. He'd lost God's blessing. Justinian II, now nicknamed Renomos, the one with the cut nose, is exiled to Cheran, far away in Crimea. His enemies think they've silenced him for good. But how did an emperor fall so low? How did the heir of a proud dynasty end up mutilated and banished? And why, centuries later, did enemies claim he had affairs with horses? To grasp this wild tale, we need to go back to when a prince was born, destined for both greatness and tragedy. Born in 669 AD, Justinian II was the grandson of the famous emperor Constantine IV and son of another Constantine IV. His name wasn't random. It honored the greatest Byzantine emperor, Justinian I, who almost revived the ancient Roman Empire's glory. From a young age, the prince was groomed for leadership, diving into military strategy, theology, administration, and diplomacy. At just 16, when his father passed away, Justinian took the throne of a vast and complex empire stretching from Italy to the Middle East. Byzantium stood as the Christian stronghold against the Islamic surge. Governing such a vast realm was no small feat. The empire needed wisdom and balance, traits the young emperor just didn't have. At first, things looked promising. Justinian expanded the empire, winning battles against Arabs and Slavs. He revamped the tax system and even created new coins. In 692, he gathered the Quinyx Council to settle church disputes. It seemed he was following in the footsteps of his namesake, the great Justinian I. But beneath this polished image, paranoia and tyranny were brewing. Historians noted Justinian's disdain for the Byzantine aristocracy, whom he saw as roadblocks to his vision. To fund his ambitious military plans and construction, he laid heavy taxes on the people. Yet, it was his unpredictable actions that alarmed the Byzantine court. He fired seasoned advisors, filling their places with unqualified favorites. One of the most infamous was a Persian eunuch named Stephanos, feared for his extreme cruelty. Under Stephanos's influence, Justinian unleashed terror on the aristocracy. He seized properties, executed nobles on flimsy charges, and tortured those suspected of treason. One shocking incident unfolded during a banquet when a nobleman dared to challenge the emperor. Justinian had him dragged out, and in the palace courtyard he was castrated, with his genitals delivered on a silver platter to his wife. Such calculated cruelty turned fear into hatred among the elite. The common people weren't spared either. To show his Christian devotion, Justinian sought to root out pagans and heretics. Entire villages were burned for allegedly supporting ancient beliefs. In Constantinople, accused sorcerers faced public burnings. With the empire already struggling against outside threats, it started to implode from within. By 695, things reached a breaking point. A popular revolt led by a general named Leontius swept through Constantinople. The palace's defenses crumbled as the guards, fed up with tyranny, opened the gates to the rebels. Justinian found himself captured in his chambers, still in his nightclothes. He was dragged to the public square, destined for the brutal punishment we mentioned earlier. Nose carved off, tongue mutilated, and a disfigured face. This was Leontius now, the new emperor. He sent Justinian into exile in Chersonesus, Crimea, thinking a humiliated and broken man wouldn't be a threat. That was the first big mistake in a wild chain of events. Far from giving up, Justinian reinvented himself. Even with his scars and struggle to speak, he held on to his charm. He started spreading whispers that his wounds were healing. Proof, he claimed, that God still favored the true emperor. In truth, he wore a gold prosthetic nose, making it seem like he was recovering miraculously. As local leaders in Chersonesus started to worry about his growing power, they planned to turn him over to Leontius. Sensing trouble, Justinian managed to escape to the land of the Khazars, a mighty Turkish tribe. There, he captivated the local Khan, who offered him his sister, Theodora, in marriage. Justinian set aside his Christian beliefs and wed the pagan princess, forming an important alliance. But when Leontius caught wind of this, he sent messengers promising riches to the Khan for Justinian's head. Warned by his wife about the betrayal coming, Justinian fled again, this time to the Bulgarian king Tural. Using his impressive speaking skills, despite his mangled tongue, he persuaded Tural to give him an army to take back Constantinople. In 705, a decade after his disgrace, Justinian marched into the imperial city leading Bulgarian troops. On a stormy night, they broke in through an old aqueduct. The current emperor, Tiberius III, who had overthrown Leontius years before, was caught trying to escape. Justinian's revenge was brutal. He ordered Leontius and Tiberius to be chained and dragged through the streets of Constantinople. During the games at the Hippodrome, the restored emperor humiliated them, placing his feet on their necks before calling for their executions. This ruthless display sent a clear message. Justinian II was back, and he brought terror with him. His second reign from 705 to 711 was bloodier than the first. Consumed by revenge, he ordered mass killings of anyone linked to his ousting. Entire families wiped out, properties taken. Whole neighborhoods in Constantinople went up in flames. Chroniclers tell us that the emperor watched the executions while he ate, seemingly enjoying the suffering around him. Militarily, his second reign fell apart. Obsessed with punishing his own people, he let crucial borders slip away. The Arabs moved in on Asia Minor, and his former allies, the Bulgarians, raided lands in the Balkans. As if that weren't enough, Justinian betrayed King Turvil, the very man who helped him reclaim his throne, by trying to kill him during peace talks. In 711, while Justinian was off on a military campaign, a new rebellion erupted back in Constantinople. He rushed home to save his throne, but by then it was too late. Trapped in his palace with only a few loyal guards, he was caught trying to sneak out through a hidden tunnel. This time, his enemies wanted more than just mutilation. Justinian II, the last emperor of the Heraclean dynasty, was beheaded. His head was sent to Rome and other capitals as proof that the tyrant was finally gone. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. Decades after his death, hostile chroniclers began spinning wild tales about Justinian. The most outrageous claimed he engaged in sexual acts with horses in the imperial stables, a sickness that supposedly explained his cruelty and madness. These claims mainly came from texts written long after Justinian's rule by writers serving rival dynasties. Modern historians dismissed these stories as typical medieval propaganda. Adversaries often accused each other of sexual perversions, cannibalism, or making deals with demons. The accusation of bestiality, especially involving horses, had a strong symbolic punch in Byzantine culture. Horses stood for power, nobility, and military might. To suggest that an emperor would lower himself to such relations was to attack his legitimacy, implying he was more beast than a divinely chosen ruler. This kind of defamation wasn't unique. Queens faced accusations of incest, emperors of cannibalism, popes of satanic orgies, all aimed at dehumanizing political opponents. For Justinian II, the accusation stung even more. A man already physically disfigured now found his legacy twisted into that of a moral aberration in the annals of history. The real tragedy of Justinian II isn't just the slander he faced after death. It's about how he failed as a ruler. He had the smarts, the drive, and a vision for his empire. But his paranoia and need for revenge got in the way, ruining his potential. He was remarkable for surviving exile and coming back. He's the only Byzantine emperor to reclaim the throne after being mutilated, which shows just how talented he was. If he had channeled that energy differently, he might have been a great leader. Instead, Justinian II is known as Rhino Moss, the guy with the sliced nose, a reminder of how fragile absolute power can be and how dangerous tyranny is. His story serves as a harsh reminder that even the mightiest can fall, and history often judges harshly those who rule through fear. The weird legend of the emperor and the horse, although not true, speaks to a bigger reality about power and how history gets told. In the fight for memory, winners often strip away the humanity of losers. Justinian lost not just his nose, his throne, and his life, but also the chance to control his legacy. After his downfall, he was turned into a monster to explain his fate. This is the true lesson in the strange tale of a king exiled for being with a horse. Ruling power doesn't last forever, but the ability to write history can endure for centuries, often built on myths that fit the political needs of those in power.